One time when it was Halloween, I almost sent my little brother to meet God because I put on a scary mask and grabbed a dull knife and went up to his room. So when I showed up, he started screaming and threw himself back onto the bed and started yelling, "No sir, please." And I had to take off the mask because the guy was really about to have a heart attack. But the worst part is that I was wearing the same clothes he had seen me in all day. And the dummy didn't recognize me. And in the end, he told on me and I got a beating. People only understand after an ass whooping. One time when the movie The Nun came out, I wet the bed because I went to see it with my friends. But when I got back home, I was scared as hell, and when it was time to sleep, I couldn't. But in the middle of the night, I had to go to the bathroom and I didn't dare get up to pee, so I wet the bed. Honestly, I used to pee myself a lot, but it wasn't on purpose, except that time it was. And my mom scolded me for wetting myself. She made me sleep on wooden boards without a mattress.
Kom tanzen.
Ich will nicht.
Kom trinken.
Ich will nicht.
One time my grandpa got lost on the street because he was in his little car with my grandma and they were going to buy turtle in its blood. At one point my grandpa went around the same fountain like 5 times in a circle and he really thought he was moving forward. He tells my grandma, "Hey old lady, I think I've seen this fountain before." And my grandma replies, "Well yeah, I was just waiting to see when you'd notice." In the end he had to call a traffic officer to help him with directions. One time my mom told me I was Mr. Beast because she went on YouTube and a video of mine popped up. When she looked at the comments, she read that they said, "Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast." And she asked me, "Why are you Mr. Beast?" And I explained to her who Mr. Beast was, but because of you guys, now even my mom calls me Mr. Beast, damn it. When I was sleeping, I had a really horrible nightmare because I was dreaming that I couldn't run. So to prove to my dumb brain that it wasn't real, that day I told my family to go to the park. And at the park, I started running faster than my uncle. But then a Rottweiler dog started chasing me. But this one actually had all 4 legs. And the good thing is that in the end, I climbed onto a truck so it couldn't catch me. One time when I was using the school bathrooms, a kid stuck his head under the stall while I was pooping. Because that guy was a little crazy in the head and sometimes he would even go into the girls' bathroom to spy. And that day I really had to take a dump and the crazy guy peeked under the door. And at that moment I was just about to finish pooping. But I couldn't finish in peace anymore. So I kicked him for being an idiot. One time my parents threw me a birthday party and porn started playing on the TV by accident and all the kids saw it. Because my birthday's on November 1st and my dad put on a horror movie, but after a few minutes in the movie they started having sex. And one of my uncles noticed and said to my dad, "Buddy, buddy, the TV, and my dad saw it and ran to turn it off. But on the other hand, my little cousin Tizak was already pulling his junk out, that crazy guy. One time when I was in elementary school, I accidentally stole a Maruchan because my friends would buy pizzas, hamburgers, tacos, Maruchan, and all kinds of tasty stuff at the cafeteria. But my mom always sent me with quesadillas, and by the time I was going to eat them, they were all soggy. So one day I told the lady at the cafeteria, "Can I have a Maruchan? I'll pay you when my mom comes." But when my mom arrived, I didn't pay her, because if I did, she would scold me for not eating the quesadillas. Once my parents wouldn't let me say bad words and one day I shouted them out at a pool because I was with my cousin Cucho. And we said let's shout bad words underwater, but my parents were there. So we would put our heads underwater and say, but nobody could hear us or understand us. And one day I messed up because I didn't time it right and I closed my eyes and shouted before putting my head underwater. And they heard me and my parents got mad at me for saying, "Dick!"
Lonely, I'm Mr. Lonely, I have nobody.
One time my mom saw the haters' comments on my videos because she went to check out the gossip on my channel. But then she went into the comments and told me, "Hey Skydiners, Mr. Beast, what's up with the people who write bad things on your channel? They're cringe, right?" And my mind was just processing that my 47-year-old mom had used the word cringe. I just started laughing and gave her a hug saying, "Yeah mom, they're cringe. But wait, how do you know what cringe means?"
One more and you're dead.
One time my dad was out on the street and he almost got mugged and stabbed. It was raining and my dad was walking to get to the car. But he put his bag over his head so he wouldn't get so wet. And then he saw a hooded man in the rain who started following him and getting closer. And then, out of the corner of his eye, my dad sees him and says Martillo, and the guy who was going to mug my dad actually knew him. And he says, Martillo, oh, is that you, Lick? I was about to stab you, no way. My dad said, no way, Martillo. I even prayed the Lord's Prayer. He was saved because he worked in the prison and became friends with Martillo. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here to tell this story. One time when I was at a concert, I almost went blind because some toxic chemicals got in my eyes since they were handing out some glow sticks. But me, with nothing to do and bored, I started tying knots in the glow stick, and when I was on the 4th knot, that thing couldn't take it anymore and exploded in my face, splashing into my eyes. So I ran to the bathroom to clean myself up, but thank God in the end they helped me and I didn't go blind.
Got me jumping like
One time when I was in the classroom at school, I used to kick and step on other kids' backpacks because in my school there were like 50 students in a single classroom. And since we looked like a clown car, they put their backpacks next to their desks and I sat all the way in the back, so when they asked for the homework there was no way to get through. So, pissed off, I would step on their backpacks to get to the front. In fact, one day a friend had an egg inside his backpack and I crushed it. But in the end, my classmates told on me to the teacher, and the teacher said, step on his backpack, step on it, and they stepped on it, kicked it, and even peed on my backpack. FF. One time a corrupt police officer tried to get 5,000 pesos from my parents after he told us to pull the car over. And he goes and says, give me 5,000 pesos and I'll let you go. And my parents were like, what the heck, wait a minute, you haven't even told us what we did wrong and they hadn't done anything wrong. And then the officer asks, what do you do for a living? And my parents say, we're both lawyers. And he was just an ignorant guy who didn't even know a single law against two lawyers who have read the Constitution more than 1,000 times. And then the officer goes and says, you know what? Don't give me any money, in fact I'll pay you to leave. And I asked my parents, really amazed, how did you get them to let you go? And they tell me, all epic, the power of words, son, knowledge is power. And damn, I felt so epic, like in a freaking movie. One time when I went to a public bathroom, I almost threw up because someone left a radioactive dump in the toilet and they didn't flush it since there was no water to flush it down. So, with the power of my stream, I aimed at it and tried to disintegrate it, but that thing just wouldn't break down. So, I turned my stream to maximum power and managed to split it in half. And in the end, I flushed the toilet and there was actually water. But the toilet got clogged and water started spilling out and the radioactive dump fell to the floor. Honestly, I feel sorry for the person who had to go clean that up.
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal, criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal.